Applying to Ruth, Taro should not affect your ability to enjoy this game at all. If we're going off the main goal being leveling up and doing missions to defeat Fuse. Okay, yeah. I talked about that before. You can complete the entire game without buying a single weapon or weapon boost, nano boost, because all the items you need are given to you via crates and your guide. Yeah, I talked about that. I agree with that. No item or cosmetic is essential. Yeah, to the game. It does not mean a meta game should be supported and uplifted by the community. Especially when once you finish the game, defeat Fuse, there's nothing to do, like a DLC. Now this is the part that I disagree with, but he then states the only other thing that you have to do is collect items or raise, both of which tie into an economy. Yes, I strongly agree with you like that. Once you're done with Fuse, what the heck do you do? Right? You're done with the core mission, which is defeating Fuse, which is not really true, because Fuse is just a hive mind. Then what else do you do? I mean, for the vast majority of players, this is where they stop, and they just wait for the next update. For some people, they collect some of their favorite ultra rares, such as their classic Ben 10 jacket, Cannonball pants, Cannonball shoes, right, and the Cannonball set. And some people take it much further and they collect all of the ultra rares, and a super minority collect all of the rares, all of the uncommons, and even all of the commons. And not just that, they collect all of the racing items too, and all of the event items. They are the super duper minority. Like, I know there's a handful of them that I actually know that I can personally say they've collected every single item. And for them, at that point, honestly, I think you really maxed out that game then. You really completed the game. But yeah, I do agree, both of which tie into an economy. And yeah, after the game, the core game, there's the meta game, which is just to collect all of the items. So why should special occasion items like the mysterious vendor and other event items be reintroduced, but then tack on a 100k price tag on them and make them limited time? This is literally contradicting that items don't have value, because you're still trying to protect the value of those specific items. So again, I think I know Rome is a smart person. But my initial impression is that he's not understanding that these people understand that there's value for these items. They don't want to make stuff for free. He's just taking it to the extreme and saying, oh, like, if everything is just the nanos, just the missions, then we should just completely make everything free. That's not what they want. What they just want is to just what they want. And what they hate is when items become monopolized. That's what they hate. With, like, for example, the big shell wings. What they hate is when there are times when like the hyperfusion fire. Understandable why it was fixed. With racing, it's understandable why they re-release a lot of event items, because no one got them. But the real problem then becomes when the devs, again, with Fuse and Wraith set, the green one, they just did that for no good reason. I guess I just get really irritated when I hear you guys state an economy is worthless, but then say, but wait, some items retain a value because they're a special occasion. That's super contradictory. Yeah, so I stated that I was going to go back to what Petamix was stating, and it's pretty much what Rome / Indes has stated. And again, once you're done with the game, once you're done with the core game, what else do you do? The good news is that you can actually collect all of the items. You can collect all the ultra rares, event items, the racing items. Let's go to the universal guide. for racing. There's just so many items for yourself to actually collect. And not just that, if you really want to, you can learn how to race at these infected zones by yourself, further increasing the longevity of FusionFall. If we can assume that it takes the average player their first run through like 75 or 60 hours to get from levels 1 to 36, let's just say 60 hours, they're not even close to being done if they want to be completely complacent. Because racing itself, no, from my personal experience, I have a character called Speed Force, which tried to get all of the racing items under one character, but what happened instead was that I only raced like 5 or 6 infected zones, and I got my character all the way to level 36, and I don't even have everything. And you know, when it comes to grinding items, there's just so much more to do. And you know, there's some controversy stating that the devs increased, buffed up the drop rates, making things a lot easier compared to the original game, and I can understand that perspective, and I can also disagree with the decision that they've made. This one kind of deserves its own mini video, but yeah, I think buffing up the drop rates is both a good thing and a bad thing. It's good for the average player, but in terms for the hardcore players, which is a real minority, right? Which is a definite real minority. It doesn't matter if like the game is it doesn't matter if the game is largely inactive. Let's just assume that this game has 100,000 players. Only 1% of the 100,000 players would actually hate it when that the thing got buffed, because like when it came to the original OG drop rates, it was much harder, much significantly harder, and people, and in my perspective, grinding items is incredibly boring. There's no real challenge to it. So I think it's a good thing that now so he's now replying to Penamix, but like what I said, there's a lot of stuff to do, and adding on with Rome, that stuff can help significantly extend the longevity of your playthrough. But now we're just not at this point where items, like we need more items, or at least this is what Rome is saying. What do you mean by breaked almost every time the devs release a new patch? What does this even mean? Economy is a placeholder for the lack of engaging features between players in the game, along with no consistent endgame content, dungeons, replayable missions, boss hunting, etc. Now, we do have world bosses. The unfortunate fact here is that they're only relevant for a month, if not much shorter than that, and then no one really grinds for them anymore. That's problematic, because in other MMORPGs such as World of Warcraft or Guild Wars 2, those world bosses are always relevant. Even if you are a top tier, like level 300 player, they still go there. So I think there needs to be at least like world bosses. There has to be some sort of incentive to keep on doing that over and over again. I think maybe I'm kind of looking too deep into it. Maybe that one of the reasons why they made Fusion Echo drop a lot of fusion matter as well as Taros is to make players have the incentive to keep doing that over and over again. I know a lot of people did that. They made millions of Taros doing that over and over again. More than 100 times they did that. So crazy. And that allows people to keep on doing that. So I think the reason why I bring that up, if they can combine the grinding difficulty for Halloween 2019, if they can also combine that with the whole dungeon thing that the Kinismus update came up with, in as well as the whole Mega Fusion Echo Echo thing, where it's highly recommended you get at least a group of 3 with you, then the end game for FusionFall would no longer just be an economy, but much more. So I have nothing against new nanos and missions, but I will always believe having items to grind actually gives people something to do more than the other content, which is blown through in hours. Yeah, I talked about that. Even though I'm smelling the flowers as much as I can, the sad reality is that I can only really appreciate it for 3 days, and then that's it. How much more for the average person? And end up having you log off for another month for more. It's pretty obvious collecting items is one of the big things people want to do, so obviously grinding them is not appealing to you because it requires time and effort. And again, a lot of people don't understand this, but like the drop rates were definitely buffed where you can get stuff faster. So like people should not be complaining about grinding being such a tedious task anymore. But no, he's not against new nanos and missions. Again, that's the main attractor for this game. And if you're to go a complete one direction where the game is just entirely all economy, that's also problematic as well. That's also very problematic. So I think the fine balance here that the developers need to take action would have to be, they have to understand that the economy is the metagame that allows people to log in every day to go collect their items, socialize, trade, grind in groups. And this is what I personally dislike, that there's this accusation, or there's this misunderstanding that the trading community is a vocal minority. And I think this is kind of like at the heart of the problem that Rome is trying to state. The fundamental problem here is that the amount of people who log in every day is very low. Imagine a game where people only log in during updates, and for the entire rest of the time, after a week or two, the game is now a barren desert. That's not a good game. And if FusionFall were to ever have been a business, if Retro were ever been a business where people would have to pay subscription fees, where people only log in just for updates, it would be completely bankrupt. So I can definitely understand Rome's perspective right here, that there needs to be some sort of fine balance. Maybe there doesn't need to be an economy, but the economy is all that we have to simulate the MMO aspect. Now, he does suggest dungeons, replayable missions, boss hunting, and fortunately, as I said earlier, the devs are moving forward with it. They're moving forward, hopefully, with the dungeon idea, and they're taking lessons from the past. Now, something to also realize is that a lot of these developers, they're just doing this in their free time, but they're doing this in their free time, but in terms of like practical, or in terms of experience, they are mostly my age. They're like 20 years old, if not younger than me. At most, they're like, or in their mid-20s. I know Devin is in his mid-20s, and it's actually their first time making a game and managing it and listening to feedback. You know, they don't have 10 years of experience working for Halo or Minecraft or World of Warcraft. You know, they don't have that. They just have, in terms of in terms of resume, is just Retro. And it's a good thing that people such as Devin looks into the forums on a frequent basis and tries to implement these things as much as he can. Like, there's some things that he can't implement, such as crafting, right? But at least they're listening. The only problem here is if they don't listen. That's when things become existential.